All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we're going to begin with our state expedited accusation calendar. These are misdemeanor cases scheduled as an initial appearance. Individuals who were recently booked at the Fulton County Jail, their cases have been formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County. Upon being accused, this would be the cases sent to the state court of Fulton County, and this would be the initial appearance so that the individuals may be informed of their case numbers, the charges brought against them, have counsel appointed to represent if they're required, as well as to set a bond and give you a court date when relevant. Ms. Grace, our next court date is August 31st, correct? Melissa Grace, do we have?
I don't think she logged on yet, Judge. It's August the 30th.
30th, okay, excuse me.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Let me see now. Okay, courtroom 2 is going to begin. This is an announcement for everyone who has got a case pending against them. Please remember that when I address your cases on a one-on-one basis, you have a right to remain silent about the facts of your case. Anything that you choose to say during the course of this virtual proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you. As a footnote, please be aware that these proceedings are not only being live streamed, but also recorded. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. All right, we're going to hold on attorney Renee Rockwell, as she's going to be in another proceeding. And Mr. Segura has requested breakout for, no, have a seat, Go ahead.
This is Rockwell's case, Judge.
Oh, is that Rockwell's client? Okay.
Oh, okay, Judge, I can go real fast then.
Okay. All right. What position number is Ms. Rockwell's?
This is position 15, Ms. Washington.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are addressing Alexis Monique Washington, case number 22 CR 0054718. Ms. Washington is represented by Ms. Renee Rockwell, and Ms. Washington, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Any priors, Mr.
Second arrest.
Okay.
2017 failure to appear. She pled NOLO. It was for no insurance.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Miss King. Yes, Miss King.
Yes, Your Honor. The bond is currently $5,000 surety. The state requests that it remains as set, as well as no further contact with the victim. Jalen.
I need to unmute him.
Just 1 second. Ms. Rockwell? Yeah, thank you. All right. Please proceed, Ms. King. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem at all. No further contact with Jalen Wilson, Jadelynn, last name traditional spelling. A stay away from the Onyx Club, 1885 Cheshire Bridge Road, Northeast, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. While she does not have a disturbing criminal history, the fact that this incident had been brewing for 2 months, where the defendant was antagonizing our victim in this case, and finally it escalated and she got violent with her. We've been in close contact with the victim, and she does have some nerve damage from being struck in this incident. It happened very near to her eyes, so she has the facial nerve trauma. She did receive medical treatment. Our victim gave us a statement. She said they were co-workers at this incident location, and they got into an argument 2 months ago, and she had been threatening to fight her ever since then. She said that she wants absolutely no contact with this defendant. The defendant has since been fired, so she has no reason to come back to that incident location. So she's strongly asking for that stay away. She's concerned for her safety.
All right, thank you. Ms. Rockwell?
Judge, I spoke with the detective in this matter. We weren't quite sure. The detective needed a statement from her, etc. And the detective then said, well, I just went ahead and took a warrant. So I had her make arrangements with her family, and she turned in last night. I'm going to ask that the bond be, for some reason, she was given the information that the bond was at the amount of $2,000.
That's correct. That's correct.
I thought the prosecutor said $5, but I'm going to ask. I'm gonna ask
Oh,
for
my
2,000.
apologies, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Ms. Rockwell.
I'm just gonna ask for 2,000 with all the same conditions, Judge. She did turn herself in to save everybody the expense and the drama. So if we could just leave it at 2,000 with the conditions.
All right. Bond's gonna be set, well, if you're gonna go with a surety bond, it's gonna be $2,000. It's gonna be a surety bond. No further contact with Jalen Wilson, to stay 200 yards away from the Onyx Club at 1888 Cheshire Bridge Road. No drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. And we will send her a court date. Well, right now it's August 30th. If she makes bond, then we will send her a notice to her current address. And the one I have right now is 2318 Spring Creek Lane. Is that correct?
Is that correct? I mean, she should have just given it to when she turned in last night. She should have, is that correct, Ms. Washington?
That's correct.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Judge. And I'll be filing.
Excuse me. Sorry, excuse me. All right, and you'll be filing an entry of appearance, and we will, if she makes bond, we'll be reset for a plea and arraignment calendar. And Ms. Washington, you have to stay 200 yards away from Ms. Wilson. You cannot communicate with her in person. You cannot communicate with her through a third party, through a phone or a computer device, and you definitely cannot discuss her on social media. Understood?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
Thank you, Judge, ma'am. That's all. Good to see you, Judge. Thank you so much.
For you too.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Rockwell. See you soon. And my apologies to the court for misspeaking on the bond
No,
amount.
that's okay.
So it's 2,000 good?
It's a $2,000 surety bond, yes. Who do we have, please?
Position 7, Crary.
Okay. Craig. We have State versus Patience G. Craig, case number 22 CR 0054731. Ms. Craig has been accused of harassing communications, allegedly on March 28, 2021. Ms. Craig, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Holly, or who is counsel for Mr. Aaron Williams? Please remove that cigarette from your mouth and throw it out. You are in a courtroom. Okay, thank you. Ms. McLeod, is that your client?
It is,
Thank you.
your.
All right. Your attorney is going to be Miss Maureen McLeod. All right. And Mr. Tucson, any priors?
7 total. Last arrest was 2002 for disorderly conduct out of Rhode Island.
All right. Anything else? That's it?
Pretty much. Everything else is old. It's from the
Okay.
90s.
We will go with the 2002. Okay, let's see. Miss Reed. Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge. Good to see you.
You too. And
On this case, Judge, we're asking for a $4,000 signature bond. This incident occurred March 28th, 2022. The location was 61 Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard, Northwest Atlanta. That's Charles Harper Park. The facts of this case include Mr. Hubbard. He lent $105 to the defendant so that she could find a place to live. The defendant called Mr. Hubbard on the day of the incident and asked him to meet her at the park. Mr. Hubbard saw the defendant and started to approach her, but the defendant told him to back off or she'll shoot him. Another witness named Mark Hampton actually heard this exchange. Mr. Hubbard did not see a gun and the defendant left the scene. The basis of the warrant, Your Honor, was that Mr. Hubbard asked the defendant to stop texting him, and Mr. Hubbard said he was afraid and the defendant continued to text him anyway. So for this case, we are asking for a $4,000 surety bond because her past arrests, they have been relatively remote. We're asking for no further contact with the victim and no drugs or alcohol or weapons while out on bond. Thank you.
bond is set at $4,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Charles Hubbard. That means, Ms. Cray, you cannot communicate with Mr. Hubbard in person. nor through a cell phone, a computer device, any electronic device, nor through a third person, and even through social media. You are also to stay 200 yards away from his person, wherever he happens to be.
And Judge, could we add a one-day anger awareness class to this?
This is not a DB case, so it's difficult for me to include any of these programs.
Okay,
I would
Understood.
definitely object to that, Your Honor. I think it's unnecessary under the circumstances.
Well, she just needs to not contact Charlie anymore. That's basically it.
My
Okay?
name is not Charlie. My name is Rodney Hubbard.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought it was Charles Hubbard. I'm so sorry.
From here. I'm
All
here.
right. All right, Rodney Hubbard. Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you for correcting that. So it's, I see your name as Roddy Rod. So is it
No.
Rodney or Roddy?
No, it's Rodney.
Rodney Hubbard. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay.
that is,
All right,
Yes.
Mr. Hubbard. If you
Yes.
receive any text messages, phone calls, that you know for a fact are coming from Miss Crayey, I mean, you
Yes,
cannot guess, okay? You cannot guess or speculate.
No, yes, it's 9. She started harassing me.
No,
and
no,
threat-
listen to me, listen to me,
Yes.
listen to me. If you receive any calls or communications from Miss Crayey that can be established as a fact that it comes directly from her, you cannot speculate whether it's coming from her. It's got to be established as a fact. If any of these communications are coming from her, all you have to do is take a copy of this bond order and go to the police. Understood?
Yes, yes, Judge.
All right. And
Your
you
Honor, my
can-
client denies that she even has a telephone number for this gentleman.
I understand, Ms. McLeod, this is a probable cause matter. She's been charged. She's not been convicted of the offense. The case still has to go to trial where the state has to prove the charge against her beyond a
Thank
reasonable doubt. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Hubbard, you
Yes.
just make sure you keep a copy of that bond order and you can contact the Solicitor General's office, or you can contact the clerk of court at state court for a copy of the bond order. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you are free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No alcohol, drugs, no alcohol, no, excuse me, no illegal drugs and no weapons and no firearms. And Miss Crayey, I just want to confirm her address, Miss McLeod. I have Memorial Drive in a particular room. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay, then we will go with that. We'll send her
That,
notice of
that, that, that,
1 to 2
that is
hours.
not her address. She stayed out on Ford Industrial at the Loft Hotel.
Well, this is the
You do
address.
not
we-
know where she lives.
I understood, Ms. McLeod. Please let me respond. I understand. Mr. Hubbard, that is the
Yes.
address she has provided us. And if that's an incorrect address and she fails to appear in court, a warrant will be issued for her arrest. Okay? So
Yes.
if you need to help us with this case, please reach out to the prosecutor.
I just want her to stay with me because she threatened me and told me she gonna have somebody
We
come
have
kill
given
me.
you a no contact order. Please
Yes.
get a copy of the bond order as instructed. You're free to go, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stace, please.
Position 12, Simone.
I have Sahara Sloan, case number 22 CR 005470F, accused of battery, domestic violence from March 16, 2020. Ms. Sloan, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. McLeod.
Yes,
Any
first
prior-
arrest.
All right,
No.
thank you. And the prosecutor, Ms. King or Ms. Reed? Ms. King, yes. What's the recommendation?
A $4,000 surety, no further contact with Aaron Williams, both are traditional spelling. A stay away from 1631 Stanton Road Southwest, apartment 82 in Atlanta, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. This is concerning to us. While she does not have any convictions or arrests, the victim in this case has stated, we told the officers at the scene that this has happened before. And in addition to the visible injuries that the officer saw, he had his locks were pulled out by her. And he was also stabbed with a kitchen knife previously, and he regrets not calling the police when that incident happened. But as you see, it's continuing to happen, Your Honor. The $4,000 surety is reasonable under those circumstances. We're concerned for the safety of the victim in this case and the citizens of Fulton County.
All right, thank you. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 34 years old. She and the alleged victim, Your Honor, are actually married, and they got married after this incident happened. This incident allegedly happened in December of 2020. They have been together since she was 17 years old, Your Honor, and they share 3 children. A 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a young child, I believe a 4-year-old, Your Honor.
Okay.
She says that her husband, they subsequently got married, although they had been living together for some time. They are now married. They've been living together and raising their 3 children together since this incident. So a stay away is not what he would like, and it is not what she would like. I have actually spoken with him, and he absolutely denies even contacting the police about this incident. He does not want a stay away. He denies that he feels that he is in any way threatened by his wife. And he just doesn't understand how this has gotten to where it has happened. I believe he is on the Zoom. I spoke with him, and he said he would be on to explain to the court that he's not in the least bit threatened by his wife, and he doesn't want to stay away.
Okay, the warrant identifies the incident as March 16th, and then the warrant was signed by Judge Frazier on March 17th of 2020. And you're saying the incident occurred in December?
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. She said it was, I thought it was December of 2020. It sounds like it may have been 2019.
I'm confused. So you're saying that this warrant has the date wrong, or what are we doing?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. It happened in March of 2020, but they didn't execute the warrant until July 29th of 2022.
Oh, yeah, that much I do know. That much
Right, it happened more than 2 years ago. That was my understanding.
Yes, we got married since then, and we live together and everything.
Okay.
And they have 3 children together, Your Honor.
Yeah, and I understand that the prosecution is going to extend that 2 years due to the temporary toll and during the COVID pandemic suspensions. Okay, all right.
I believe that her husband is on the Zoom, Your Honor. He told me that he would be.
Yeah, I do see him. I see his name there. Mr. Williams, if you'd like to unmute and start your video. Aaron Williams. Okay, Mr. Williams, good to know that you've taken the cigarette out. Would you like to contribute to this hearing? All right, can't hear you. Say testing 1, 2, 3. All right, your phone device is not connected to your audio. All right, what would you like to tell me, sir? I need to place you under oath. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, when did you marry Miss Sahara Sloan?
We got married in February of 22.
February of 2022. All right. Have there been any incidences of violence since March of 2020?
Absolutely not.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your input. The bond is to be set at 30. Who is this? Yes, Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may, you're familiar with the cycles of violence, Your Honor, and even in the warrant, he says that he didn't call 911 about. So while today he's saying nothing has happened since, Your Honor, the state is still very concerned and cautious.
All right. I have not asked him about the incident. That is something that the solicitor's office can deal with him through their proper channels. Okay. I simply asked him when he got married. And have there been any more instances since March or?
Yeah, I'm speaking to whether there's more incidents.
Okay. Right, and he's under oath, so he can discuss that with the prosecutor. He can assert his marital privilege, whatever he wants to do. Okay?
Can I say something? Can I say
No,
something?
no. All right. Miss Sloan, your bond is going to be set at 3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. You don't have to pay for your bond, but you have to comply with certain conditions. And the conditions are no further violent contact with Aaron Williams. You can go back and live with him, but there cannot be any physical or verbal altercations that might involve the police, okay? No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. And your next court date will be sent to you to your address. I have a Massachusetts Avenue address. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So your next court date will be sent to you at that address. While you are reporting to pretrial once a month, you will also undergo a one-day anger awareness program. It's a free class, and that's offered through pretrial. Understood?
Ma'am, we supposed to be moving August 31st out of Georgia. We already told our landlord we was moving. We already have our house.
Right, we already bought the house and everything.
We already have the house in Illinois that we're supposed to be leaving September 1st. I didn't know I had a warrant to deal with this, so I didn't know.
Well, there is a warrant. That's an open pending case. And you are moving end of August?
Yes, ma'am, I leave August 31st.
All right. Today is the 17th, so you will start, your first report date to pretrial will be in accordance with how they require you to report. You will also attend and complete the orientation. Once you move out of state, you can continue to report to pretrial telephonically, but you will need to do the anger awareness class with them. And Mr. Tucson, is it possible to do it via Zoom?
I guess that's how they've been doing it.
Okay, so the classes are done via Zoom.
I'm assuming.
This is an open pending case against you, so you are responsible for making sure that the clerk's office gets your new address in whatever state you move to. So before you leave, make sure that we have your updated address, and we will send you notice of when to show up in court. Right now, we're requiring most people to show up via Zoom, so travel is not the issue.
Okay,
Right?
thank you.
And your attorney might want to work real hard with the prosecutor's office to see if they can resolve this.
Yes, Your Honor.
Both can move on. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have position, she's an add-on, position 1, Bella.
All right. Is James Walker in the courtroom as well?
Bells? Who was number one?
That is,
Bell.
this is an add-on. This is
Bell. Come on, ma'am.
Cherie Bell.
Oh, I don't have that one.
It's an add-on. It's on Odyssey. And all right, Ms. Bell, please have a seat. Did the screen just freeze? And all right, Ms. Hawley, do you represent Ms. Bell?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, or rather afternoon.
Yeah, afternoon. I guess it's 2 o'clock.
Francois, is James C. Walker in the courtroom as well?
Yes, he's here, Judge.
All right, if you could come and stand behind her, please. And Ms. McLeod, do you represent Mr. Walker?
Stand right there. Stand behind her. Right there.
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Cherie T. Bell and Mr. James C. Walker, you are both deemed to be co-defendants in this particular case or cases. The case against Ms. Bell is listed as 22 CR 0054918, and she's accused of theft by receiving stolen property and possession and use of drug-related objects from August 16, 2022. Mr. Walker, your case is 22 CR 0054938. You are charged with theft by receiving stolen property from the same date. Both of you are deemed to be co-defendants, and you've both been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorneys are as follows. Ms. Bell, your attorney is Julia Hawley, and Mr. Walker, your attorney is Maureen McLeod. Ms. Hawley, if you could wave your hand. Ms. Bell, this is your attorney. You see her?
Yes.
And Miss McLeod, if you could just wave your hand like the queen. Okay, like this. Okay, there we go. All right, Mr. Walker, that is your attorney. Okay. We do not have a pretrial report, so Mr. Segura, what is your bond recommendation for Miss Bell?
For add-on position 1, this case was already accepted as a DA transfer, but because of a discrepancy, it was unable to be transferred to the felony in the morning. So having said that, the bond for position 1 is a $6,000 surety bond, $5,000 for the theft, and $1,000 for the drug-related object. So the conditions of alcohol, drugs, and weapons filed on bond, and a stay away from the incident location, which is I-285 northbound ramp, and Donald Lee Hardaway Parkway, Northwest Atlanta. As Honor knows, this case occurred yesterday, August the 16th, and in this case, police officers are dispatched to that incident location regarding to a lost need of a vehicle. In this case, the truck driver who was the victim said that both his drug trailer seal was stolen and one popular platform of Minute Maid orange juice, which was valued at around $5,000 to $6,000, was also stolen from inside the trailer.
I'm sorry, I thought it was just the orange juice. Was that money too?
No, that's the total amount of that. Basically, a pallet of the orange juice was.
Oh, I see. The value of the entire pallet that was removed.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, okay. Mhm.
And at that point, another officer told this officer that he witnessed 2 subjects, each carrying a case of the orange Minute Maid juice at a close location. And we saw the items were stolen. He went to look at that location. But when he spoke when he found the 2 defendants, they did not have the orange juice, and they both said that they sold it to someone in a brown vehicle. And in that case, when they were arrested, the defendant from add-on position 2 said he used that money to buy crack. And in add-on position 1, she admitted that when position 1 was arrested, she had a crack pipe in her left pocket. My main concerns for acting as a surety bond for add-on position 1 is due to the history of this defendant, especially we have concerns about her being a risk of reoffending and danger to the community of committing similar crimes, as she has, based on her GCIC, 17 total cycles. In 2007, she had.
That's a bit old for this. Anything in the last 5 years?
Not last 5 years, but according to her history, she has guilty convictions, or at least on 7 guilty convictions for theft. So due to all that, that's what we are asking for a surety bond in this case.
Mhm.
And should I also recommend position 2?
Yes, please, go ahead.
To add on position 2 to him, 9 cycles and almost all of them being kind of distant, we're asking in his case a $3,000 signature bond with the same conditions of alcohol, drugs, and weapons filed on bond, and a stay away from that incident location.
All right, thank you. On Miss Cherie Bell is going to be a $2,500 signature bond on $2,000 on the theft by receiving stolen property, and $500 on the drug-related object. That's $2,500 signature bond through the jail. And Mr. Walker, that's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail to stay away from the location. And what was the name of the truck driver?
His name was. Let me try to find it.
All right, while you're looking for that, Miss Bell and Miss Walker, I'm going to issue you a signature bond, all right? And you need to make sure that you keep up with your notices. We need at least a phone number or an email so that your attorneys can keep in contact with you and let you know when's your next court date. Do you understand? If both of you don't show up to court when summoned, we will have to issue another warrant for your arrest for failure to appear.
Okay.
All right? All right. And do we have the name of the truck driver, Mr. Segura?
Yes, his name is Wes, W-E-S, Hallwell, H-A-R-R-E-L-L.
All right. And you have to stay away from Mr. Wes Harrell.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right, you can go back and have a seat.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mhm.
Thank you, Judge.
Position 18, Zachary, put your mask up for me, Zachary.
I'm sorry, did you say Zachary?
Zachary, position 18.
Yes. This is Danielle Zachary, 22 CR 005-474D, accused of simple battery and criminal trespass from August 15th, 2022. I have a co-defendant, 478. Who is that?
Kareem Dobson, Your Honor. I asked that we hear them at the same time.
All right.
And that's position number 5.
All right. Oh, that's right. Okay. Kareem Anna Marie Dobson, are you in the courtroom too? Francois, do you have Mr. Dobson in courtroom too?
It's a girl.
Oh, it's a girl, sorry. Oh, you're right. I'm so sorry.
South Annex, Your Honor.
So I see her. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have Miss Dobson appearing at the South Annex. Miss Dobson, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and your attorney is going to be Miss McLeod.
That's correct, Your Honor. I'm representing both of them.
Oh, both of them. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Zachary, you are like
It's Miss Zachary, Your Honor.
It's Miss Zachary. I do
Yes,
beg
Your
your pardon. Oh, okay. I'm just getting all the genders confused today. All right. Okay.
It's Danielle Zachary.
I thought I saw Daniel. Okay. Clearly my glasses need to be changed. Miss Danielle Zachary, and I do apologize, but your attorney is also Miss McLeod. Don't we normally appoint a C3 for Ms. McLeod? Are you currently just representing all defendants conflicted out by the PD's office?
No, Your Honor, but I think in this particular case, there is not a conflict between their positions. I think that was the reason why I was appointed to represent both of them.
Okay, if that's the situation, all right. So Ms. Dobson's
They're not
accused
cross
of-
defendants.
They're not
just
cross defendants.
Right, Your Honor.
Okay. So Ms. Dobson is accused of simple battery. Ms. Zachary is accused of simple battery and criminal trespass, August 15, 2022. Mr. Tucson, let's start with position 5, Dobson. Any priors?
Third arrest. Last was in July for shoplifting. It's open in DeKalb County. Before that was 2016, disorderly conduct dismissed. That's it.
All right. And what about Ms. Zachary?
15 total. She got 3 FTAs, 3 probation violations in her history. On probation for theft by receiving, possession of marijuana, possession of a Schedule 4, possession of a Schedule 1 controlled substance out of Clayton County. She has a Soberton hold.
Repeat that.
Soberton, Georgia. She has a FTA warrant out of Soberton, Georgia.
Soberton, Georgia. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of them small towns.
Okay. And do you know what the underlying charge is?
It says phase of here. Hold on. It's traffic.
A traffic matter. Okay. All right. Thank you. Ms. Johnson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge Law.
Are you okay? Both of them? All right.
Yes,
I'll let you start with whichever one you want, Zachary or Dobson.
We'll start with Ms. Dobson.
Okay.
The date of offense, Your Honor, I have is August 15th, 2022, with the incident location being 30 Alabama Street Southwest. That is the 5 Points MARTA station. In this case, Your Honor, the defendant threw an unknown red liquid on Emmanuel Teague. That victim's name is E-M-A-N-U-E-L. Last name Teague, T-E-A-G-U-E. Your Honor, for this case, we are asking for a 1,000 surety bond, a stay away from the incident location, no further contact, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
All right. And what about Ms. Zachary?
Your Honor, Ms. Zachary is charged with simple battery and criminal trespass. This defendant spit in Mr. Emmanuel Teague's face. After being detained, she was found to have an active MARTA suspicion issued on July 10th, 2022. It was effective on August 9th, 2022, and it expires October 8th, 2022. In addition to what pretrial added, I also show an open hit and run, possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, and a possession of cocaine out of Clayton County for this year. Your Honor, for that reason, we're asking for a $2,500 surety bond, no further contact, a stay away, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
All right, thank you. Ms.
Your Honor, which one of my
You can
clients would
start-
you like?
Let's start with Dobson first. How about that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Alphabetically.
My client is 29 years old. She is the mother of 3 very young children. 2 of them are 3 years old, and 1 is a year old. So that is what she does. She takes care of these 3 young children. The court will note that she does not have any significant criminal history. It was, I believe, a minor arrest some time ago. But other than that, she is a good citizen. She denies the allegations as stated by the prosecution, and I'm going to speak about both of my clients' version of what happened. They tell me that this person was trying to solicit them for sex and was quite rude to them. And he was the one who actually first attacked them, and they were simply defending themselves against the alleged victim, Your Honor. I spoke to them separately, and I was given the same facts as to their version of what took place.
All right, thank you. And that addresses both of, what about Ms. Zachary?
She is 33 years old, Your Honor. She has 5 children, she tells me. She suffers from sickle cell, and she also tells me that she has a disability, a mental disability which she suffered from since she was a child. She is not able to work because of it, but she is disabled, which I believe has contributed to some of the issues that she has had in the past. But she also confirms that this was someone who was trying to be inappropriate with both of them and to solicit them for sex. And when they objected to it, he attacked them.
All right.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes, Ms. Johnson.
In the body of the warrants, the officer does state that he saw CCTV, meaning the incidents were recorded. So
True. But then he also goes on to say is pending further investigation and doesn't tell us what's on the video. So
you're right, Your Honor. I just want to make that fact known. Thank you, Your Honor.
okay. So with Ms. Dobson, with regards to the simple battery, it's going to be a $1,500 signature bond for pretrial. She's going to report to pretrial services once a month. She is to have no further contact with Emmanuel Teague and no further contact with Ms. Danielle Zachary. Her next court date will be sent to her at an address. I've got a Joan of Arc Place. Is that still her current address? Miss
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so that's the current address. Okay, her next court date is going to be sent to her that no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And while she's reporting to pretrial, she will undergo a 1-day anger awareness program. With regards to Ms. Zachary, it's a bit dramatic.
That's per judge.
For Ms. Dobson, yes.
Yeah. And it'll be for Zachary too if you give it pretrial.
Okay, so with Zachary on the simple battery, it's going to be 1,000. On the trespass, it's going to be 500. That's a $1,500 surety bond. Unfortunately, Ms. Zachary does not qualify for a signature bond given her significant criminal records history, including FTAs and probation violations. She's to stay away from the Marta property in accordance with any suspension that is in place for her. Oh, sorry, Ms. Grace, with regards to Ms. Dobson, she's also to stay away from the Marta 5 Point Station. She cannot return to that central hub. If she's on a train, she can keep on, she just cannot embark or disembark from Marta 5 Points. Yes, Ms. Dobson or Ms. Zachary?
Yes, I have a disability, which is sickle cell disease. And
I understand that. That's why your bond's only $1,500.
Prescribed to me. I never used cocaine, never had none on person a day in my life. And I feel like I was being harassed by the Marta and the
I understand, Ms. Zachary, but I've already explained why you do not qualify for a signature bond. All right, your next court date is going to be August 30th.
Your Honor, just to make sure I put on the record, I don't believe Ms. Dobson was recommended for a signature bond either by
Right,
pretrial.
she wasn't because she's got a hold. She's got an, excuse me, because she's got an open decap theft by shoplifting.
Right, I was going to say, I didn't
Yeah.
hear a hold stated.
well, the
She does
hold
have
is
three
for-
very young children, and I think that's why the judge decided to give her a signature bond.
No, that's not the only reason why, but thank you, Ms. McLeod. My reasoning is just here in my little noggin, okay? But Ms. Zachary, she has a $1,500 surety and she does have a hold in Soberton, Georgia.
It's for a move over law. I didn't know I was supposed to get into oncoming traffic where 18-wheelers come from.
That's not the only reason why you didn't get a signature bond. Ms. Zachary, as I've explained to you, you have a significant criminal record history, including multiple
Because I have a
FAs
disability and receive narcotics.
and multiple probation violations. Thank you. Next court date's August 30th. That concludes these two cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
South Annex, how many more cases do you have?
Yes, ma'am, just one more.
All right, and who is it?
Position number 6, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. We have State versus Daisha Renee Hoaxely, case number 22 CR 005475J. Ms. Hoaxely has been accused of battery from August 16, 2022. Ms. Hoaxely, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. McLeod. Ms. Hoaxely, you will have to wear your mask back over
No,
your nose.
Your Honor, I don't believe she's my client.
Your
Oh,
Honor, I'm representing Miss Hoaxely.
I'm so sorry. It's Miss Holly. Miss Holly is your client. Thank you. Okay. So, any priors, Mr.
Second arrest,
Okay,
2017 marijuana possession. It was dismissed after PTI at the city.
thank you. All right, Miss Johnson, what's a bond recommendation for Miss Hoaxely?
The bond recommendation is 3,000 surety, no alcohols, drugs, or weapons, no further contact, stay away, and 1-day anger awareness. May I put the facts on the record, Your Honor?
You may, the alleged facts, yes, of course.
Thank you, Your Honor. Date of offense is August 16th, 2022. Location, 500 Northside Circle, Northwest. Your Honor, the victim in this case is Nashira Saina Almighty. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but I will spell it for the record. First name, Nashira, Nashirah. Middle name, Saina, Sana. Last name, Almighty, AL space, capital MAEHDI. Your Honor, officers arrived at the incident location. The defendant stated that there was some pushing, some scuffling, and items were thrown, but there was no striking. Ms. Almeida stated the defendant entered the room, turned on the light, and triggered a verbal argument. She called the defendant an asshole, and the defendant struck her in the face, causing her left eye and cheek to swell. The officer observed her injuries. The officer made the determination, that the defendant was determined to be the primary aggressor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Miss Holly?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Hoaxely has no significant criminal history. She also owns her own business, and the address where this incident occurred is actually her home, 500 Northside Circle, apartment Y1. I believe Miss Almighty already has left the premises or is in the process of leaving. Miss Hoaxely is completely okay with no contact. I do believe she has a recommendation for a pretrial release. We would just ask for a signature bond. If the court is not inclined to allow her to return to her house, she does have a grandmother in Lawrenceville whose house she would be able to return to.
Bond is set at $1,500, and that's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Nashira Al-Mahdi. She can only return to 500 Northside Circle one time only with a police officer. On this visit, she has to verify whether Miss Al-Mahdi still occupies the premises. If Miss Al-Mahdi still occupies the premises, then she cannot return to that house or apartment until Miss Al-Mahdi actually vacates the premises. So right now, I don't know if she's vacated. So she's not allowed to stay there. She can go there one time only with a police officer to retrieve her personal belongings, and that visit cannot exceed 2 hours. If she moves in with her grandmother's place, she has 30 days from her release to update us with the new address where we can send her notices. She's to report to pretrial once a month, undergo a one-day anger awareness program, and not consume any illegal drugs and not possess any weapons or firearms.
And
Alright.
Judge, if Miss Almaty has left the premises, may she return?
If it's verified by the officer that the property has been vacated, then she can return to that location.
Okay, thank you.
All
Your
right.
Honor, can you restate those conditions? I just want to make sure I have them correctly.
$1,500 to pretrial. She has to report to pretrial once a month, and she must update the court with her new address. If she cannot return to Northside Circle, that update must be within 30 days. She can return to Northside Circle one time only with a police officer. If it's verified by the officer that it's no longer occupied by the victim, then she can return to that location. But if the property is still being occupied by the victim, then she cannot return to that location until further order of the court. No further contact with Nashira Almaty to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in person through any electronic device or even on social media or third party. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Position 11, Searles.
May we be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Position 11. Okay. Ali here, Isha Searles, case number 22 CR 005481F. Ms. Searles has been accused of battery, domestic violence, appears to be a first offense from August 14th, 2022. Ms. Searles, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Tucson?
You go to felony? Oh, here it is. I got it. This is a fifth arrest. Last was 2013, theft by taking, criminal trespass. So the 2016 arrest out of Jersey for stalking. It was dismissed. That trespass, 2013 was a conviction. She had a 2013 conviction for a public order crime out of Clayton County. 2012 battery, 2 counts, 4 counts of simple battery. Those were dismissed out of Clayton County.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Ms. Reed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state is asking for a $1,500 surety bond, a stay away from the location, no further contact with the victim, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on probation, and a one-day anger awareness course. If I may, could I put the alleged facts on the record?
You may.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, this occurrence happened on August 14th, 2022. The location 2900 Laurel Ridge Way, apartment 6308 in East Point. An officer was dispatched to the location because of the fight between the parties. The officer spoke with the victim, Ms. Taylor, and she said that she and the defendant were living together and they were in a relationship, but they're no longer in a relationship. They were having an argument because Ms. Taylor was not responding to the defendant, and the defendant continued to get more and more angry. The defendant called her sister to assist with getting the children from the location. And apparently Ms. Taylor was holding one of the defendant's children, and the defendant hit her in the face. The officers observed scratch wounds and blood on the left side of Ms. Taylor's face, and the defendant was placed into custody. Your Honor, our office has not been able to contact the victim, but we just want to say the defendant does not have strong ties to the community, and she is a multi-state offender. Although several of her cases were dismissed, she does have a history with just a battery and stalking arrest. For those reasons, we are asking for the $1,500 surety bond. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Searles, I'll address you shortly. Let me hear from your attorney. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Sears she has been here in Georgia for 1 year. She was born in New Jersey and she moved here. She has a job here. She has a ties to the community because her sister also resides here in Georgia. And she does not object to the stay away order. She wants to stay with her sister. And she does not object to the no further contact with Alicia either. And indeed, she just needs one-time law enforcement officers escorted visit to retrieve her personal belongings. That's all she needs. And here in Georgia, she also has 2 children, and she has a job as a manager for the restaurant, and she has a GED, and she's settled here even though she has been here only for 1 year. We would like to request for a signature on bond as she is recommended. And all those cases are remote. They are from like 2013, Your Honor, and we would like to request for a signature on bond. Thank you.
Bond is going to be set at $3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Alicia Taylor, to stay away from 2900 Laurel Ridge Way in East Point. And no alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. You will report to pretrial once a month. And you can't afford to get arrested again, otherwise you will lose your signature bond. It will be converted to a surety or cash bond. Within 30 days of being released, you must update us with your new address, and a court date notice will be sent to you at your new address. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
You may return to the 2900 Laurel Ridge Way one time only with a police officer to retrieve your belongings, and also to retrieve any children who belong to you and reside there. However, if there's any dispute about custody or possession of the children, you are to leave the children there and work that out through the courts. There cannot be any breach of peace when you go there with a police officer. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Judge Law, the communication, we froze, so there's a lot of stuff that you stated that she didn't hear.
Oh, okay. Let me just quickly repeat. 3,500 signature bond through pretrial. Report to pretrial once a month. No contact with Alicia Taylor. Stay away from 2900 Laurel Ridge Way, East Point. Update the court with her new address within 30 days of being released. No alcohol, drugs, and no weapons and no firearms. And while she's on release from pretrial services, she will undertake a 12-week anger management program classes that she must begin within 60 days of release. You must go to a qualified school to do the anger management classes at your expense. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
find that information.
Your Honor, anger management was not there before Your Honor, can we remove the anger management, which was not there?
well, let me give you my
first?
thoughts on the anger management. First of all, it's a domestic violence case, so the court is allowed to articulate these programs as part of the bond. Second of all, she's got prior arrests for battery and simple battery and stalking. I know she was not convicted, but it gives concern as to the nature of violence that may perpetuate in this case. So that's why I'm requiring her to do a 12-week anger management class at her expense, and she must commence those classes within 60 days of being released. All right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mhm. This case is going to be further noticed at her new and notice will be sent to her new address. Thank you. All right, next case, please.
13, Terry.
This is State versus and Aisha. I think it's Isia. Is that correct? Isia Terry. Case number 22 CR 005469G. Miss Terry, has got 5 misdemeanor traffic-related matters that have been charged against her from August 16, 2022. Ms. Terry, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. The charges brought against you are 2 counts of giving false information to an officer, driving while license suspended or revoked, failure to have license on person, and a window tint violation. So any priors, Mr. Howard?
10 total. Last arrest was 2020 hit and run. 2020 failure to appear. BGCSA. She got a suspended license and possession of marijuana out of Henry County from 2019. Another 2019 suspended license. 2018 shoplifting. 2016 FTA suspended license. 2016 suspended license conviction. And a battery DV NOD from 2013. She has a hold out of Henry County.
Henry County.
Yeah, probation violation, disorderly conduct, it says.
All right. All right. Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor. There's currently a $3,500 surety in place. I'm requesting an increase to a $5,000 surety due to the defendant having 13 FTAs, which suspended her license since 2013. That's more than one each year, Your Honor. As well as her having 3 open cases is what I saw in GCIC, the hit and run, the driving while license suspended, and also a shoplifting out of East Point from 2019. So this defendant has no regard for the law and even bond conditions in previous cases. She was seen in her Charger driving with the heavily tinted windows when she was pulled over. When officers asked her for her license, she stated she didn't have it on her person, so they asked her to write down her name and date of birth. She provided Paris Montfort, date of birth 9/16/1994. When the officers put it in the system, the picture that came up did not match the defendant. When they asked her about that, she still contended that it was her. She did not tell the truth until he called for backup and asked for a fingerprint scanner. Once she saw that her identity was going to be discovered, she told the truth, is when she was taken into custody. The state feels that this $5,000 surety is more than reasonable. We do feel that this defendant will not come back to court, as she is shown in the 13 FTAs she's had since 2013, as well as with her open cases. It's likely that she will reoffend again, Your Honor. For that reason, we ask that you please give us the $5,000 surety, as well as no driving and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Terry is 31 years old, Your Honor. She was born and raised here in Georgia, and she has 2 minor children, 10 and 12 years old. Right now, they are staying with her mother. Her husband has been incarcerated as well, so she has not gotten any child support whatsoever, and she is completely self-employed as a restaurant owner, and she is sole provider for her 2 minor children. She has a freshman year of college education, and she would like to request for signature on bond. And yet, if Your Honor is not inclined to give her a signature on bond, please just keep $3,000 as it was ordered already. I don't think it is necessary to increase the amount. She has to go back to take care of her children. Thank you.
Can I speak, Your Honor?
No, please stay silent. You have every right to remain silent, and you don't want to hurt your case.
No, I know that, but I would like to state something to the judge.
Ms. Terry, your attorney is giving you very good advice. Anything that you say right now in open court, especially about the facts of your case, or to dispute whatever the prosecutor said, your statements will be recorded and used against you in the treatment of your case in the future. Now, you also have a right to waive your right to remain silent and say something. So it's really up to you, but your attorney will not be happy with you.
I would just like to state that the vehicle was not my vehicle, and the owner of the vehicle came and retrieved the vehicle from the scene, and I stated to the officer that that was not my vehicle. So I had no sense of knowing how dark the tent was. I was only using the car to pick
Miss Terry, let me just tell you something. it's been alleged that you were operating the vehicle. So if the vehicle has equipment violations like a busted headlight or a tint violation, you are the one who's going to be charged with it, not the owner, because you were allegedly operating the vehicle at the time of the traffic stop. Do you understand?
Yes, and also,
Please, you have a right to remain silent.
All right. Anything else, Miss Terry?
no, ma'am.
Smart move. On the giving false name, count 1 is going to be a $500 surety bond. Driving while license suspended or revoked, that's going to be a $2,500 surety bond. Failure to have license on person, that's going to be a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. The window tint violation is going to be a $500 signature bond through the jail. Giving false, count 5, giving false information to an officer, that's going to be a $500 surety bond. She's going to have a $1,500 signature bond through the jail and a $3,500 surety bond, which makes it a total of $5,000 split bond. The next court date is going to be August 30th. Condition to the bond is absolutely no driving. Not your car, not your friend's car, not anybody's car. No car. Unless you have a valid driver's license, automobile insurance, and proper registration, which are all current.
Okay, I have to go to Henry County when I leave here, so more than likely, on August the 30th, I'll probably still be incarcerated.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying.
Please
When I
remain
leave
silent.
here, I have a whole, when I leave here, I have a whole for, Henry County, so on August the 30th, I may still be incarcerated.
All right, so if you're still incarcerated here, make sure you bring your discharge papers to Henry County to show why you didn't appear. Also, Henry County will be notified that you're here, so if you are released on bond, they may come pick you up.
No, correct, that's what I was saying, I have to go to Henry County and serve a 20-day sentence. So for August the 30th, I may not be able to report to Fulton County for court because I may still be incarcerated in Henry County.
I will call you at the jail so we can discuss more details, okay, Mr.
All right, and yes, I agree with you, Miss Terry. If you go, once you make bond, you have to go to Henry County, and if you're still incarcerated there, it's a possibility you might not make it back to Fulton. However, if you do make bond, then the August 30th date does not hold. You will get notice for another court date. Okay?
Okay.
But more importantly, no driving unless you want to come back here and lose this bond.
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Position 14, Trimble.
Rylan Nicole Trimble is accused of battery, domestic violence, and cruelty in the 3rd degree in case number 22 CR 005-468C. Ms. Trimble, this is from an incident of August 16, 2022, and you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Mr. Toussaint, any priors?
The 8th arrest. Last was in March for DUI. As far as violence, the 2010 simple assault, simple battery, that was first offender. I mean, everything else dismissed. So.
All right, sir. Thank you. Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor, this offense occurred yesterday. Officers responded and discovered that the victim, Sutton Barrow, Sutton Barrow, was struck in the face by the defendant, and the officers noted swelling to the upper lip and the nose. The officers also discovered that this incident occurred in front of the victim's 15-month-old child, Adeline Barrow, Adelyn. For that reason, the state is requesting a 4,000 surety. That's 3,000 for the battery, family violence, and 1,000 for the cruelty in the third. No further contact with either party, Sutton Barrow or Adeline Barrow. A stay away from 1200 Addison Lane in Johns Creek, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
1200 Addison Lane.
Yes, Addison.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Miss Kim.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Trimble is 37 years old, Your Honor, and she was born and raised here in Georgia. And she has one child who is 6 years old right now, who is a minor. Also, actually, Miss Sutton Barrow is also her biological daughter as well. However, she has no objection to stay away from her place in Johns Creek. And also, she has no objection to no further contact as well. She would like to go back to her son since she's the only one who can take care of her son. They don't have any other family members who can take care of, as her father recently passed away on July 24. And right now her boss at work is actually taking care of her son, and she's anxious to go back to take care of her 6 years old son, Your Honor. She's been working as a claim adjuster for the last 5 years, and she also has a certified nurse assistant's license as well. She has associate degree, and it is very important for her to return. We would like to request for a signature on bond, which she was recommended for. Thank you.
Miss King, what's the relationship between Sutton Barrow?
From what we can tell, they lived together at one point recently. I believe it was last year. Let me see if I can see the date.
Is it a parental relationship or a?
Yes, Your Honor.
Partner, a parental?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Miss Rihanna Trimble, on the battery is going to be a $3,500 bond. On the cruelty is going to be $1,500. The total bond is $5,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Sutton Barrow, and to stay away from 1200 Addison Lane in Johns Creek, Georgia. You may return to that location one time only with a police officer to retrieve your personal belongings. That visit cannot exceed 2 hours. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearm. And you are to report to pretrial every month. Within 30 days of being released, you must advise and update the court with your new address, wherever you happen to be living, because that's where your notices are going to be sent. If you don't update us and you don't get your notice, a warrant will be issued for your arrest and you will lose your signature bond. Understood? You will also attend and complete a one-day anger awareness program with pretrial while you are out on bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 1, Bell.
I have State versus Jonathan Bells. Mr. Bell's case number is 22 CR 005465E. Mr. Bell, are you aware of the 3 charges brought against you?
No, I'm not.
All right. Deputy Francois, if you have a copy of the calendar, could you please show him the 3 charges brought against him, stemming from a July 31st, 2022 incident? Do you see them, sir?
Yes, I do.
All right. I'm going to waive sounding. That means we're not going to mention count 2. But Mr. Bells has been accused of these 3 charges. He has been advised of his right to remain silent, and his attorney is Ms. Holland.
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to request a breakout room to discuss this case.
All right. Mr. Bells, you will remain silent in the main session. Please do not say anything because this whole proceeding is being recorded. Mr. Jordan, if you could place me with Ms. Holly, Mr. Segura, Ms. Falk.
And may I please be?
Yeah, and Ms. Kim in a breakout room.
Judge, he a resident of Delaware.
All right, thank you. All right. Mr. Jonathan Bells, we've had a virtual sidebar discussion with both your attorney as well as Ms. Kim from the Public Defender's Office, as well as the prosecutors in this case. And based on the information that we've derived with regards to your situation and the charges brought against you and the allegations, is that Miss Hillary Bells? Are you related to Jonathan? Ms. Bells, if you
Yes,
can.
I am his wife.
Okay. And are you currently zooming in from Delaware or from Georgia?
From the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Okay. All right. And you do understand that Jonathan Bells came down to Georgia for a specific reason, right?
Yes, to visit his brother.
I understand that was also to seek treatment.
He's seeking treatment now, yes.
In Georgia?
Yes.
Okay, good. So Mr. Jonathan Bells, on the criminal trespass, your bond is going to be $2,000. That's going to be a surety bond. On the count 2, it's going to be a $2,000 surety bond. So that's so far a total of $4,000 surety bond. On the willful obstruction of an officer, that's going to be a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services. You will, once you make bond, you will report to pretrial once a month. You are not allowed to leave Georgia for 90 days. Do you understand? You're not allowed to leave Georgia for 90 days.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
Within 60 days of being released, you must comply with what we call a BHET. And you will confer with your attorney, Ms. Holly, as to what a BHET is. Based on this evaluation, then you must also comply with any treatment and any medication that is required by the evaluator. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor, I understand. Thank you.
You are to stay away from 126-555 Birmingham Highway in Milton, Georgia. You are not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. After 90 days, if your evaluator determines that your treatment and medication is adequate and that you may travel back to Delaware, then you may return to Delaware. But keep in mind that once you return to Delaware, you'll still be required to continue to report to pretrial telephonically. And this will be only after 90 days, which is 3 months. If you get arrested again for anything else, if you fail to comply with your treatment, or if you fail to report to pretrial telephonically, or if you attempt to leave Georgia within the next 90 days, upon being released on bond, your bond will be revoked and a bench warrant will be issued for your arrest. And these bench warrants tend to go nationwide.
Could you repeat that? I didn't hear any of it. Your Honor, I couldn't hear a lot of that. The screen paused. Can you please repeat that?
I said that if you fail to, if you get arrested again for anything else, if you leave Georgia within the next 90 days, or if you fail to comply with the other conditions of the bond, a bench warrant could be issued for your arrest. And these bench warrants tend to go nationwide, no matter where you are.
I understand, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. So you have a split bond. So your next court date is August 30th. If you make bond, remember to report to pretrial and also update us with your address. If you change your address, make sure you update us with your address.
I understand, Your Honor. Thank you.
I assume that you're going to be living with your brother in the meantime?
Until I secure more permanent residence, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, that concludes this case.
This per judge.
Yeah, okay, per judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bells. All right. Francois, next case, please.
Position 2, Bolton.
All right. Dequanis Bolton is case 22 CR 0054668, accused of simple battery, domestic violence, and theft by taking from August 16, 2022. We have, all right, that's all right. Mr. Bolton, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Holly. Any priors, Mr. Tucson?
This is 10th arrest. We got a hold out of Decatur. Last arrest was 2021 battery DV. It's open. 21 CR 003-784A.
All right, thank you. Mr. Segura?
And the state's recommendation is a $3,000 cash bond, $2,000 for a simple battery family violence, and $1,000 for the theft. Alongside, we're asking for the conditions of 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. No further contact with Charmaine Hoggett. Charmaine spelled CHARMAINE, Hoggett spelled HARGETT, and her daughter, an adult party transfer of that child following legitimization. Your Honor, as you know, this case was one in which Ms. Hoggett got a vehicle at that incident location in which the defendant followed her after initially she tried to leave that residence with the daughter. When the defendant approached her, Ms. Hoggett fell to the ground to brace herself because she thought she was going to be struck, in which case the defendant indeed struck her in the face with a closed fist. And at some point during this altercation, the defendant took her cell phone, which was later found in his pocket. Now, Your Honor, we're deeply concerned about the safety of Ms. Hoggett. We contacted her this morning, and she said both she and the defendant were in a relationship and they have one child. Not only that, she said that incident location, which is the 5785 Deerfield Trail, Atlanta, is her residence. And alongside, she said that she called the police earlier that day, but the defendant left the scene before officers arrived and only returned once the officers left. Alongside this, she said that it's not the first time that the defendant has hit her, but it was the first time she has called police. And also, she said she wants to have no contact with the defendant, stay away from her residence. And she also said that the defendant has no belongings at her residence, so there's no need for him to return. But she is okay with having an adult party transfer of that child. My concerns is that he will not follow any court orders, as he does have an outstanding warrant for an FTA from November the 15th, 2021. And also, we're especially concerned that even if he is out on bond, he will come back to Ms. Hoggett, as his open case, his pre-trial is noted, 21 CR 003784A, as a battery family violence with the exact same victim, Ms. Hoggett. In this case, Ms. Hoggett tried to get her child from the defendant, but the defendant will not allow it, in which case he's going to beat her. When the police spoke Ms. Hoggett, they observed that she had bruises on the right arm, her eyes appeared to be swollen, and her lips were swollen with what appeared to be with dry blood on it. Not only that, Your Honor, in this case, you initially gave a $2,000 good bond with the conditions of no further contact with Ms. Charmaine Hoggett and her daughter. But at the same time, now we are here right now, not that long after, and he came back and attacked her again. So because of this, we're asking for this cash bond.
All right, thank you. Ms. Holly?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Bolton is fine with no further contact, and they can exchange the child who's their daughter given, she's 1.5, through his mother, Marquetta Bolton. He does not want to have any further contact with her. He does live separately from her at 437 Centennial Olympic Park, and he does have a job at the Chevron on Ponce working security. I spoke with his boss this morning and did confirm that he still has that employment upon release. He is now aware of the FTA from Decatur, but he was not aware of it prior to this arrest. So obviously he would like to be able to go to Decatur and get that handled as quickly as possible. We would just ask for a surety bond so that he can get out and that it not be a cash bond, so that he can go handle the case in Decatur. What other conditions the court wants to place for him, he's okay with.
Back in July 24th, 2021, I already put a no further contact with Charmaine Hoggett and the child in question, and that he could only see the child in accordance with a court order from a legitimation action. Do you know if there is a court order allowing him to see the child or have visitation or custody rights?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Presently, given the fact that this is a repeat incident from last year, I'm going to grant the state's request on the simple battery is a $2,000 cash bond only. The theft by taking is a $1,000 cash bond only. And I'm simply going to repeat the same conditions from the prior case. No further contact with Sharman Hargett. No further contact with the minor child who is now a year and a half. He may have contact with the minor child if he files a legal legitimation action or case in the appropriate superior court, and the superior court judge issues a order to establish paternity, visitation, and custody in favor of Mr. Bolton. This case is going to be further noticed for August 30th. No alcohol, no drugs, no weapons, no firearms. And in the event that Mr. Bolton does make bond, he is required to undertake a 6-month domestic violence intervention program with any qualified provider, and that must be done within 60 days of being released in this case. No further contact with Charmaine Hargett and the child means staying 200 yards away from them, not communicating with them through in person, through a third party, through a phone, electronic device, or through social media. Thank you.
Judge Law, my apologies. This is Lieutenant Dooley. Can you give me the bond breakdown again, please?
2 and 1 cash bond only. 1,000 on the theft by taking. Is that okay? Got it?
2,000, 1,000?
2,000 on a simple battery, 1,000 on the theft by taking, cash bond only.
Got it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
By the way, when we are resetting this case for August 30th, we're going to reset this new case, 22 CR, as well as the companion case, 21 CR 003-784A, both to be reset to the SAP calendar on August 30th. Thank you. Yeah, we'll address that.
Position 3 is going to be next, Campbell.
Okay.
Judge, I would also like to request a breakout room for this case.
All right, I'm going to, can we put Campbell off to later, Francois, and move on to position 4 if he's available? Francois, can we address another case? We'll take the breakout cases at the end of the calendar.
Okay. Position 4, Mr. Colero.
This is State versus Batuhan Korloglu, charged with battery, domestic violence from June 20th, 2022. Mr. Korloglu, I don't mean to be rude, but do you understand and speak English?
He does.
All right. Okay. Case number 22 CR 005476F, accused of battery, domestic violence from June 20th, 2022. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Holly. Any priors?
6 total between Georgia and Florida. 2014 battery DV out of Johns Creek was non-prosecute. 2016 DUI. He has an open case out of Gwinnett for possession of a Schedule 1, 4, or 2 controlled substance. 2018 false report of commission of crime out of Florida. Says charges were dropped. 2018 resisting officer, disorderly conduct. That's it.
Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Your Honor. This case actually has been accepted as an upgrade to felony by the DA's court. So that's why I'll be asking for the bond I'm asking for, Your Honor. The date of events is June 20th, 2022. The incident location is 604 Summit Place Drive. The victim in this case is Mrs. Felicia Scott, Miss Felicia Scott. Felicia is spelled P-H-I-L-I-S-H-A, last name Scott. Your Honor, in this case, officers were called to the incident location. Ms. Scott advised that she confronted her boyfriend, the defendant, about looking up girls on his phone. He was lying in the bed upstairs when he jumped up and struck Ms. Scott in the face. Ms. Scott fought back and scratched the defendant on his stomach. Ms. Scott asked the defendant to leave the apartment. The defendant went downstairs and got a knife. Ms. Scott asked the defendant why he had a knife. The defendant asked her what she was talking about and immediately dropped the knife to the ground. The defendant then left the apartment. After the victim advocate began talking to the victim in this case, Ms. Scott, she determined that they are no longer in a relationship, they no longer live together, and they share no children. Victim stated after this incident, she did file for a TPO and was granted one on July 27, 2022, and is valid for a year. She stated that this is not the first time the defendant has hit her, but this is the first time she has contacted police. She has extreme injuries. She has a black eye, including an internal hemorrhage. She stated she also had to get a prescription change for her glasses due to how her eye was messed up, Your Honor. She is on Zoom currently, however, she is unable to speak at this time. Your Honor, for this case, I will be asking for a $10,000 surety bond. As I said before, it has been upgraded to a felony. I ask for no further contact, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, a stay away from the incident location, and 1-day anger awareness, Your Honor.
All right, and do we have a transfer order or is this?
Yes, Your Honor, I do, and I will send that right now.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hawley?
Yes, Your Honor. As Ms. Johnson stated, the defendant and the alleged victim no longer live together. He now resides at 705 Wheeler Peakway in Alpharetta, living with his parents. He has been living with them for a while. He, as stated, there is a TPO, there is no contact, and he has no issues with the court stating additional no contact. They have no children, no reason to be in contact at all. He does have a job. He actually opened his own business last month. We would just ask for the surety bond to be lowered to a $2,000 surety bond. This is I have written his first battery family violence charge. So his only other arrest in Georgia, as stated, a lot of the charges in the past have been null prost.
Bond is set at $7,500, it's a surety bond. The case will be transferred to the Superior Court of Fulton County as a felony matter. No further contact with Felicia Scott. Stay away from Ms. Scott's residence, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Next court date is, well, it's going to be transferred. So I'm just going to put down an August 30th date pending a transfer.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, position 8, Mapson.
Devin Mapson is accused of battery domestic violence from April 16th, 2022, case number 22CR005472Y. Mr. Mapson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Toussaint?
11 total. He don't have any violence. All he has is FTAs and suspended license charges.
Thank you. Miss Reed.
Thank you, Your Honor. This case has been it's been accepted by the DA's office, and I have emailed Ms. Grace a transfer order. For this case, we are asking for a $15,000 surety bond, which is in line with what would be appropriate for a bond amount for an aggravated battery charge, which we believe is this type of injury. Our office and myself personally have viewed photos, and they're quite horrific. Your Honor, we understand that this defendant may have used his brother's name, and with your permission, we ask if the defendant can pull down his mask so that someone who is on Zoom can ID him. I don't believe she's going to say anything out loud, but we just want him to pull down his mask for a moment, if possible.
All right, the mask is pulled down. Who is identifying him?
Well, I don't know if she has identified him and she said it's him. So,
all right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, you can put your mask back. Okay.
Your Honor, an officer was dispatched because of a report of an assault. The date of the incident was April 16th, 2022 at 1715 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in Atlanta. Ms. Davis, the victim of the case, she told the officer that the two began arguing about going out with friends. At the time they were living together, and this incident took place at his house. Miss Davis tried to leave the situation because the defendant was getting more and more angry, and Miss Davis stated that defendant pushed her onto the bed. Upon getting up, he pushed her on her face with an open hand, and then he struck her head with a PlayStation controller, which caused a deep laceration on the left side of her upper lip, which did require stitches. Ms. Davis has had no contact with the defendant, and she does not want contact. Your Honor, the defendant has had several FDAs on his criminal history, so the state is concerned of whether or not he'll appear for court for this matter. And for those reasons, and because of the severity of this injury, we are asking for a $15,000 surety bond, along with a no further contact, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, in a one-day anger management class.
Okay. Miss Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Mapson is actually, he says that his name is Christopher Mapson, not Devin Mapson. So I think there's a huge confusion between two different people here. His name is Christopher Deontay Mapson.
That's what it says on the warrant.
However, in the jail, everything is written as Devin Mapson.
All right, we're going to have to correct the jail records on that.
Right.
That way with the warrant.
Your Honor, we have confirmed that this is in fact Christopher Mapson, who has also at some point used his brother's identity, Devin Mapson.
Okay. Let's proceed.
Yes.
And what's the bond recommendation?
We would like to request for a maximum $1,000 surety bond. He has been here in Georgia for 26 years. He was born in South Carolina, but he's almost all adult life he has been here in Georgia. He has 2 children, 12 years old and 3 years old. And he has been a full-time father about 3 years, ever since he lost his job because of a pandemic. When he was studying, he couldn't find a job, and he has a high school degree. They don't have Miss Tassie Davis, alleged victim, complaining witness, they don't have any more relationships anymore. They broke up. And so my client does not oppose to no further contact to Miss Tassie Davis. And we would like to make sure that he can go back to 1715 Martin Luther King, since Miss Tassie does not reside there. And it is actually the place where he and his mother reside together. I think that's what it is. And Your Honor, we would like to request for a maximum $1,000 surety bond. Thanks.
Your Honor, she's correct. That is where the defendant lives, and we're not asking for a stay away. But again, the photograph of this injury was quite horrific, and she required stitches, and it's quite a big, large laceration.
Oh, well, I understand that the DA's office has accepted the transfer. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So the bond is going to be set at $8,000. That's going to be a surety bond. No further contact with Tassie Davis, to stay away from her residence, a place of employment, anywhere she happens to be located, to make sure that we have a current address on Mr. Mapson, and the jail records shall be directed to correct the entry of Mr. Mapson's name to Christopher Mapson, also known as Devin Mapson. Let me see. With a date of birth, I have November 4th, 1988. Is that the correct date of birth?
No, Your Honor. It's May 20, 1991, Your Honor.
May 20, 1991.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that is the date of birth for Christopher Mapson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So the jail records have to be amended to reflect that this is Christopher Mapson with a date of birth of May 20th, 1991. His next court date is going to be August 30th, pending a transfer. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge, what is the bond amount?
8,000 surety bond, surety pending, and next court date is August 30th. The case is going to be transferred to the district attorney's office as a felony charge.
Am I able to speak?
Mr. Mapson, you have a very serious charge brought against you. You have a constitutional right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case, statements can and will be used against you. And it will make it very difficult for your attorney to represent you.
I'll give you a call so I can explain and discuss with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next case.
Position 9, Perryman.
We have Larry Anthony Perriman Jr., accused of simple battery, domestic violence, stalking, a misdemeanor charge, and harassing communications. This is from an August 16, 2022 incident. Mr. Perriman, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. McLeod. Any priors, Mr. Toussaint?
20 total.
20 cycles?
Last arrest, yes. Last arrest is 2019, theft by taking. 2018 FTA. 2015 FTA. 2014 FTA. 2012 FTA. It's a lot of FTAs. 2008 battery DV that was dismissed. 05 simple battery dead docket. It was an ag assault with that arrest. It was amended. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Reed?
Thank you, Your Honor. On this case, we're asking for a $7,500 surety bond total. It will be $6,500 as it relates to count 1, $500 as it relates to count 2, $500 as it relates to count 3. The date of the incident was August 16th, 2022, and this occurred at 174 Woodward Avenue in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Tashay Andrews. I'll spell that Tashay, Andrews, common spelling. Miss Andrews and the defendant were in a relationship for about a year together, which ended 4 months ago. An officer was dispatched to the location based on a third-party caller who said her friend, Miss Andrews, had texted her stating that the defendant was at the location and he assaulted her, and that the victim, Miss Andrews, was too afraid to call the police. At the scene, the officer spoke to Miss Andrews, and she said the defendant grabbed her by her shirt and pulled her hair. Miss Andrews told the officer that defendant will not leave her alone, and he continues to follow and harass her by tracking her location, calling her friends and families, and always trying to find her whereabouts and continuously text her. The officer noted that there had been numerous police reports made by Miss Andrews stating that the defendant damaged her apartment and her vehicle. Further, there was reports that the defendant has been physical with her. Your Honor, there was a TPO filed on this case by Miss Andrews, and that case number is 2022 CV 364701. However, Miss Andrews did not receive an email about the hearing date, and that TPO was dismissed on June 3rd, 2022. Miss Andrews stated that the defendant has put a tracker on her car and has been there since April and is following her. For instance, she believed he followed her to Cobb County and put sugar in her tank. Miss Andrews is extremely afraid of the defendant and is terrified if he gets released. I understand that she is on the Zoom call. Real quick, Your Honor, the defendant's had previous battery cases, 2007, 2018, and although he has not been convicted of those battery charges, he does have quite an extensive arrest record of 20 cycles. The state is equally concerned about the numerous FTAs, and for that reason, we are asking for a total of 7,500 surety bond on this case.
All right, thank you. Ms. McLeod, I can address you first, or I can address the alleged victim, as well as someone called Anita Perriman, who appears to be on Zoom as well. Would you
Your
like
Honor, I'd like to wait until you have addressed those other two people.
Okay. Ms. Tasha Andrews, my name is Judge Law. If you want to address the court, you may do so. You also have a right to not address the court, so.
Good afternoon. Could you hear me?
I can, yes. If you'd like to
Okay.
say something, may I place you under oath?
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony? You have to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
yes,
All right, we have an allegation on that on August 16, 2022, Mr. Perriman allegedly assaulted you. And that he has allegedly been stalking you and communicating with you in a harassing manner. Those are the allegations brought. You can put your hand up.
yes.
These are the allegations brought against you. Anything else you want to add?
Yes, I'm actually afraid for him to get out because he will reach out to my mom. He would do all type of extensive things. Like even now I have a few of his cousins texting and he DMing me on Instagram. People sent me screenshots of him asking people to fight me for $500, giving people the address to my kid's school, to my home, and it just won't stop. Like I even reached out to his mom on different occasions. Like I showed her my black eye, I showed her my hospital papers. Like, could you please talk to him? Ask him to please like leave me alone. She said that she was going to speak to him. That only made it worse because I guess she called to, of course, talk to him, and it made it worse because it made it to where he came to wherever I was. His father even tried to speak with him, and it don't help.
Have you refiled your action for a TPO?
I did not have knowledge that it was not active anymore until on yesterday.
All
When the
right,
officers
so
came.
if you choose to refile it, you can always refile it, okay? Even tomorrow.
I will be.
All right.
Yes, I
thank
will
you.
be.
Thank you, thank you. That concludes.
Thank you.
Please mute your screen. All right, Miss Anita Perriman, if you'd like to address the court, you would need to unmute your screen. No? Okay. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 35 years old. He denies the allegations against him. Your Honor, he is gainfully employed as a truck driver. He tells me that he and the alleged victim were in a relationship, but they broke up several months ago, and he has not been in contact with her at all. So he definitely denies this. Also, even though he's alleged to have all these cycles, Your Honor, I did not hear of any violent conviction that he had. Any arrests related to violence, it seems to me, based on what pretrial said, they were dismissed. He does have some failure to appear, and I do acknowledge this, Your Honor, but he does not have a lot of money to post a bond. I don't ask the court to take that into consideration, especially given that the fact that the court has instructed the alleged victim that she can take a PTO against him and she does not wish to see him, Your Honor. And he doesn't have an issue with staying away from her. That is what he tells me, because the relationship has ended for several months now. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, thank you. All right, on the simple battery, it's going to be a $3,000 surety bond. The stalking is $1,000 and the harassing communication is $1,000. That's a total of a $5,000 surety bond. No further contact with Tashay Andrews, which means that you have to stay 200 yards away from Miss Andrews. You're not to communicate with her in person, not through a phone, not through an electronic device, not through a third party, and definitely not discuss her on any social media. You cannot even discuss her through a third party on social media through all the different types. You are not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Your next court date is going to be August 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 10, Scott.
We have Brian Stephen Scott, charged with battery, domestic violence from December 2nd, 2021. Mr. Scott, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. McLeod. Any priors?
This fourth arrest.
What were the other three?
2014 driving without a valid license. Another 2014, same thing. 2009, possession of marijuana with intent. It was not presented to a grand jury.
All right, thank you. Ms. Reed, excuse me.
Thank you, Your Honor. On this case, the state is requesting a $3,000 surety bond, a stay away from the incident location, no further contact with the victim, third-party transfer, and a one-day anger awareness course. The date of the offense here was December 1st, 2021, and the location was 3228 Verdant, Verdant Drive, Southwest, apartment 303 in Atlanta. The victim in this case is a Darlene, common spelling, Whitaker, Whitaker. The defendant and Ms. Whitaker do share a child together. The police officers were dispatched for a domestic dispute at the location, and Ms. Whitaker told the officers that the defendant shared a child together. And at that time, December 1st of 2021, they were not in a relationship. Ms. Whitaker said that they went out for drinks and they came home and had a verbal argument. The defendant wanted to come into the apartment and spend time with her, and she declined. The argument turned physical, and the defendant punched Ms. Whitaker in the face, causing a laceration to the right side of her lip. Our office has spoken with Ms. Whitaker, and I believe she is on the Zoom call. Judge, we understand that the parties began living together after the battery occurred. And Your Honor, it's the state's position that the bond has a stay away because there's concerns that Ms. Whitaker can be influenced to not prosecute in this case. So for those reasons, we are asking for the $3,000 surety bond. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Whitaker, if you want to address the court, this is the time to start your video and unmute your screen.
Hello.
Hi there. If you please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
All right. What would you like to tell us?
Well, I don't have an issue with Brian Scott, and I wasn't even the one who called the police. So I don't even understand how did it come to him
Can you put your finger? Yeah, good. All right. Say you were.
I don't understand how it came to him having a warrant out for his arrest. I didn't press charges or anything like that. He was the one who called the police, and they came out to the house, and my children, you know, they opened the door for the police. So I just told them the situation that happened. They told me that I could press charges and all this different type of stuff. I never did anything with calling the jail, going to the jail or anything like that. Brian, he works, he's a truck driver, and I just want him to be able to get like a signature bond, any type of bond, like something so he can get out of jail and go to work so he could, you know, continue working and take care of our child. I don't have an issue with him. I've known him since 2017. That was our first problem that we ever had. And I don't know, I just want him out of jail.
Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. McLeod, go ahead.
Yes, my client is 32 years old. As pretrial has stated, he has no violent history at all. He tells me that he and the mother of his child, Miss Whitaker, they were having an argument. They had been out, they had been drinking. This happened some time ago, almost a year ago, and they got into an altercation. He called the police. He was the one who actually called the police. But as she stated, he didn't live there, so he left to go to his home. He did not even know that there was a warrant, and as she stated, she didn't know either. They shortly thereafter started to live together, and they have been living together and raising their 2-year-old together. My client is gainfully employed as a truck driver. He drives an 18-wheeler. Your Honor, I noticed that early in his history, there was something about traffic-related stuff, but that is all cleaned up. He has a CDL. That is how he earns his living as a truck driver. He was the one who called the police initially. But they have no issues now, Your Honor. They're living together, taking care of their child, and any kind of stay away orders would not make sense at this point in time because it is obvious that they have no issues with each other, and this incident happened a long time ago.
Thank you.
I would ask the court to give my client a signature bond. He's been in jail for several days now. He needs to get out so he can get back to his job and get back to taking care of his family.
I have
Thank
2
you.
days. Has he been there longer?
I think he's been there 3 or 4 days, he told me, Your Honor.
Ms. Whitaker, please mute your screen.
Excuse me?
Mr. Jordan, please mute Darlene Whitaker. Thank you. All right. How do you calculate the 4 days? I have booking in the Fulton County on August 16. Today is August 17.
Keep your mask up and just raise your hand.
He told me that he was arrested on Sunday, Your Honor.
Where was he held? Where were you held?
Pre-trial. I was at pre-trial Sunday, well, Monday morning or Sunday night, and I stayed there until Tuesday because Fulton County don't do transportation to Tuesday, so I stayed there.
Where?
At pre-trial. What's it called?
I think you're talking about the Atlanta City Jail. That's what they
Yeah,
call it.
Atlanta City Jail. That's where I was at. Yeah.
Bond is going to be set at $5,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. No further violent contact with Darlene Whitaker. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. We will report to pretrial once a month, and his next court date will be sent to him at his current address.
You got a signature bond.
If he gets arrested again for anything else, or if he fails to report to pretrial, or if he violates the no further violent contact provision of the bond, the $5,000 will be revoked and converted to either a surety bond or a cash bond. Make sure you keep up with your court dates. You'll get one in the mail. Yes, Mr. Scott?
Thank you.
If the prosecutor asked for $3,000, why would you put it at $5,000?
Oh my God.
No, this is a signature bond, Mr. Scott. Let me handle your case for you.
And Judge, if I may jump in, we are asking for a 1-day anger awareness.
Oh, yes. Actually, this is a domestic violence matter. He's going to be attending the 12-week anger management program at his expense. That must be commenced within 60 days of being released.
Thank you.
Right. Your attorney will explain to you the bond requirements, Mr. Scott. Next case, please.
Position 16 Waters. You can have a seat over here.
Amir Hassan Waters is accused of battery causing substantial physical harm from February 18, 2022. Mr. Waters, your case number is 22 CR 005-483C, and you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Tucson? Are you on mute?
I'm bad. It's his first adult arrest. The juvenile arrest was 7 years ago, so he would have been 13.
Okay, thank you.
Out of Ohio. He got a Marietta warrant for FTA for traffic.
Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor, the state is requesting a 15,000 surety in this case. We have spoken with the victim who has confirmed that her nose was broken.
Just 1 second. Courtroom 2, could we? Courtroom 2, is everything okay? Thank you. You can mute courtroom 2 at the present time. Thank you. All right, Ms. King, I'm so sorry. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, the state is requesting a 15,000 surety at this time. We had our suspicions from looking at the warrant, but after speaking with the victim and receiving documentation, we see this is a felony. This is an aggravated battery. Her nose is broken, Your Honor. We've seen pictures as well as x-rays of her injuries. As soon as we get the final medical, I'm assuming discharge paperwork, we'll be sending it over to ADA Turner, who we have been in close contact with regarding this case. This did occur in February. Officers were dispatched to 1021 Fair Street in regard to a female that was injured during the dispute. Upon arrival, the officer immediately knew that her nose was broken from his experience, and she was also bleeding profusely from her face. The victim in this case, Josephine Ventress, told the officers the incident actually occurred at 1003 Fair Street Southwest. And the gentleman that she identified is the defendant in this case. She said they had been seeing each other intimately, but did not live together nor share children, nor were they ever married, which is why this is not a family violence case. She stated that they were arguing due to dishonesty throughout the relationship, and it escalated to a physical altercation. She does admit that she did pepper spray him during the attack to defend herself, but ultimately she was gravely harmed in this incident. She is on the line. I was going to read her statement first that she provided to our victim witness advocate, and if Your Honor would like to sound for her after that. She stated that they were dating, never lived together, never shared children, and she did confirm on the phone that her nose was broken. She also had to get stitches, a nose brace, and nose plugs to stabilize it due to the extreme fracture of her nose. She has had no minimal communication with him since this incident, but she did say a month after the incident, he threatened to beat her up again, but she has not seen him. Furthermore, Your Honor, the state is gravely concerned because the defendant's ex-girlfriend has been calling her as recent as today, asking her why she is pressing charges. She did say she wants no contact and she wants a stay away from the address she's residing at, 2950 Springdale Road Southwest, in Atlanta.
Okay, Miss King, I only have one question. What is the date of service for the x-rays or the medical treatment received?
Let me look at it, Your Honor. Let me see if there's a date on it. Let me see. We just have a medical record number. It's cut off as of the date of when it was taken.
That's odd.
But we received it today after we spoke with her this morning.
But you don't have the date of service?
So from the warrant, she went and received medical attention right after the incident.
It says she went there by ambulance, and the warrant also says that she received a broken nose.
Correct.
But that was never confirmed. Okay.
Right, but since then it's been confirmed.
All right.
And Your Honor, just to throw this in there, I did talk to Mr. Turner, and he did say he would accept this case as a felony upon receipt of the medical discharge paperwork. And we have reached out to the victim to get that. However, she is working right now, or I'm sorry, she is not where her paperwork is, and will send that to us this evening.
I see. All right. Thank you. All right. Did the alleged victim want to say something? I wasn't sure.
I know she's at work right now, but she is logged on. I hope she's free. Josephine Yvonne, I believe that's her.
Miss Yvonne, Miss Ventress?
Oh, I see a Josephine Yvonne. Maybe there's another Ventress. Yeah, that must be her, the Josephine Yvonne. But as I said, she's at work, so she may not be free to.
Okay, let's move on to Miss Kim then. Miss Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Waters is actually 20 years old, and he came to Georgia about 2 years ago to go to Georgia Tech as a football player. He had GPA 3.8 when he was going to high school, and he has been a great football player. Right now, he has been working at Truist Park Stadium to make extra cash. He wants to go back to school so he can complete his college education. Apparently, there has been continuous contact, according to my client, and Josephine was not afraid of him. However, I guess she is afraid now. This happened on February 18, 2022, and my client was actually pepper sprayed first. He was not an initial aggressor, and he does not have any opposition to stay away or no further contact. So we would like to comply to those bond condition as long as we get a less a signature on bond. If your honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request for maximum $2,000 surety bond, because this is when there's no date of service, and I don't think he's the one that caused all that injury. We would like to, and also he has to go to Marietta Police Department anyway, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Bond is going to be set at $5,000. It's going to be a surety bond. No further contact with Josephine Ventris, and to stay away from wherever she happens to be, her home, her place of employment, or wherever she's physically standing. No alcohol, no drugs, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. And his next court date is going to be August 30th, pending a transfer to Superior Court as a possible felony case. Mr. Waters, you have a right to remain silent about the facts of your case. As the prosecutors have indicated, they have submitted the file to the prosecutor. Pending submission of additional documents, they may accept this as a felony case. So highly recommend you exercise your right to remain silent.
Please exercise your right to remain silent. I strongly recommend you. I'll call you and we will discuss further.
All right. Next date is August 30th. Thank you.
Position 17.
Jerome Williams is accused of 2 counts of criminal trespass and causing damage to property from August 15th, 2022. Mr. Williams, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Tucson?
Third adult. Last arrest was October, simple battery. That's open. 21 CR 005 746G.
Was he on pre-trial?
I don't know. I'll look
He
at it.
received a $2,500 surety in that case.
Thank you.
October, another 2021 arrest, trespass, damage to property. That was out of East Point. The simple battery was out of city of South Fulton.
Okay,
His first cycle is a juvie cycle. So that's it.
thank you. Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor, there's currently a $3,500 surety. I'm requesting an increase to a $5,000 surety in this case, $2,500 on each count. On August 15th, officers were dispatched to the Delano Road incident location. Upon arrival, they met with a lady named Miss Tella and her daughter, Antalia, who live in apartment 18A, and they claim the defendant lives in apartment 18B, and they are in a relationship with each other. He came to her apartment demanding to see her phone and go through her text messages, and when she refused to open the door, he repeatedly kicked it and broke the doorknob to gain entry. There's CCTV footage of him actually doing this. It's the footage that belongs to the apartment complex, Hickory Park Apartments. After that, he walked outside of the apartment and bust out the windows. When the glass was shattered, he ran away to an apartment. The officer spoke to him on the phone and asked him to come and speak to him. And he says, "I'm not coming over there to be arrested." So at that point, the officers took out a warrant. He was subsequently taken into custody. This $5,000 surety is more than reasonable due to him having an open case right here in Fulton County. While it is a different victim, that shows that he's a danger to Fulton County residents in a totality. It's not just people that he knows, even people outside of his relationships, he is battering, Your Honor. We feel that no further contact is appropriate. I understand this is difficult due to them being in the same building but different units. But Your Honor, due to this violence and also with him having so many open cases, we're concerned about witness tampering, and we're also concerned with him further violating his bond conditions and these victims in this case. The victims' names are Miss Tella, T-E-L-A, and the other party is A-N-T-E-L-I-A. And we're also asking for no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Williams is 19 years old, Your Honor, and he's been here in Georgia for the last 7 years. His parents are here. Actually, he resides with his mother at 4900 Delano Road, South Fulton. So they're neighbors, of course, and he does not object to no further contact. However, stay away from his own place is very challenging for 19 years old, Your Honor. He's actually completed up to 10th grade at high school, and he is going to finish up GED while he's trying to find a job as well. Last 3 weeks, he has not had any employment, so he has no financial means to pay for any kind of bonds right now, and there's nobody else who can come up with a financial burden. So we would like to request for a signature on bond, and yet if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request for a maximum of $2,000 a surety bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. On each count is $1,500. That's a $3,000 surety bond. Next court date is August 30th. And we are going to address not only this case ending in 54767G, but we will address his second case, which is 21 CR 005746G. Both cases will be reset to August 30th, SAP calendar. Mr. Williams, you have a right to, other conditions. You are to have no further contact with the two victims, Miss Telia and Miss Anna Telia. I don't have last name, so that's what I've got. Yeah. He is to stay.
Excuse me.
I'm going to hear from you.
I turned myself in for this charge, and these last charges y'all just brought up.
Let me finish, and then I will address you. He is to stay away from the entire complex at 4900 Delano Road in Atlanta, Georgia. If he makes bond, he has 30 days to update the court with a new address, but he's not permitted to return to the entire apartment complex at 4900 Delano Road in Atlanta, Georgia, until further order of the court. No alcohol, no drugs, no weapons and firearms. Okay.
Your Honor, may he have a one-time law enforcement escort?
Yes, he may have a one-time visit with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings, but after that, he's not allowed to return to that location. Okay, now, Mr. Williams, before I unmute courtroom 2, remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say right now about the facts of the case, your statements can be used against you in the treatment of your case. So highly recommend that you do not say anything. All right, Francois, we can unmute courtroom 2.
Miss Gill, I turned myself in for these charges. Why is the bond so high? Like, y'all ain't have to fund me. I turned myself in. Like, what's going on?
What's going on is because you have been arrested again. Let me finish. You have been arrested again in less than a year, and you already have a prior open case involving alleged violence.
You said another question. You said I can't come back to my mother's house for a while. I know where y'all can put me on a monitor or something so y'all can see what I'm doing, to see that I'm not getting no trouble.
All right, I can put you on an ankle monitor. It will cost you $299 a month.
Oh my God, what a free at?
There's no more free monitors. That's only a program.
Please, Mr. Williams.
No free monitoring services any longer. That was just an opportunity during the pandemic
Oh,
And
and I need one, cause one of them my mom is the only person I got. My dad is deceased. I have no family down here. I'm from New Orleans.
understood. That's why we're going to address both your cases on August 30th to see what resolution there is. Thank
Okay,
you.
can I bond out today, right?
I'm sorry?
Can I bond out today?
You can bond out today. The bond is 3,000 surety bond, but you cannot return to the property.
Cool.
Have a seat over here. Position 3, Campbell.
Hey, I have a thing.
Judge, you want this history real quick before you go to the breakout?
Yes, please.
Let me know you're ready.
I'm ready.
Franklin Campbell, number 6 total. July, he was arrested for FTA out of Rockdale. 2012 burglary first degree. It was amended to trespass conviction. Hold on. He was arrested in 2014 in Florida for driving an unregistered vehicle and a 2014 possession of open alcohol. This is a SOB jail. That's all.
Thank you. All right. Before I go to the breakout, I'm just going to go down the calendar for the others who can then be free to leave if you have no other cases with us. Position 1, Bells, was a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Position 2, Bolton, is a $3,000 cash bond, reset date August 30th. Position 3, Campbell, is going to be addressed in a breakout. Position 4, Kerluglu, is a $7,500 surety bond pending a transfer, reset to August 30th, pending transfer. Position 5, Dobson, is a 1,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. 6, Hoaxely, is a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. 7, Cray, is a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Position 8, Mapson, is an $8,000 surety bond reset to August 30th. Is that pending a transfer as well? Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. Perriman, position 9, is a $5,000 surety bond reset August 30th. Position 10, Scott, is a $5,000 signature bond to pretrial for the notice. Position 11, Searles, is a $3,500 signature bond to pretrial for the notice. Position 12 is a $3,500 signature bond to pretrial for the notice. Position 13, Terry, is a split bond, $5,000 split bond, reset August 30th. Position 14, Trimble, is a 5,000 signature bond for pretrial for the notice. 15, Washington, is a 2,000 surety bond, reset August 30th. 16, Waters, is a $5,000 surety bond, reset August 30th. 17, Williams, is a $3,000 surety bond, reset August 30th. And Zachary is a $1,500 surety bond, reset date August 30th. The add-on cases, Bell and Walker. Bell received a $2,500 signature bond through the jail. Walker, $2,000 signature bond through the jail for the notice. Okay.
Number 1.
You stated the $4,000 signature, you omitted.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's an $8,000 split bond. You're right.
And that's per judge.
Per judge. $8,000 split bond. So it's 4,000 pretrial, 4,000 surety. Reset date August 30th. Right. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Those who have no further business with the court, you are free to leave. We're going to take a brief breakout to address Mr. Campbell. Mr. Jordan, if you could place me with Miss Holly, Miss Falk, Miss Kim, who else? Miss Johnson in a breakout room. Thank you, Miss McLeod. You have a great week. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Judge.
And Miss King, are you coming in with us or are you running away too? Running
I'll
away.
miss the party this time, Your Honor.
All right. All right. You have a great week too. Thank you.
Just look at the chat.
guess it would be a good thing if I put you in that room too, huh, Judge?
All right. All right. Can put me in the room, please? Thank you.
See you tomorrow, Judge.
Take care, Tucson. All right, Mr. Campbell, we have had a virtual conference with your attorney as well as the prosecutor. Your bond at the present time will be $9,000. It will be a surety bond. It will be $3,000 on the interference with government property and $1,000 each on the remaining charges. The remaining charges include failure to maintain lane or improper lane change, driving while license suspended or revoked, driving with an expired or no license plate or decal, willful obstruction of an officer, illegal stop or park where prohibited, and reckless driving. Conditions to your bond is to stay 200 yards away from the Georgia State Capitol grounds and to no driving unless you have a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. The next court date will be August 30th at 11 a.m. and an MHET will be issued for your particular case. We will see you on the 30th, pending a possible transfer to felony court. Thank you.
All right, we're completed here, Judge, in courtroom 2.
We are. We'll see you later. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Judge.
Bye, everyone.